All right, we're back, hopefully sooner than you hoped, and I'm now joined by Jarvis Yu for the rest of the day. So, Jarvis, thanks for chipping in today. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I had a nice quiet Sunday, but I'm ready to get some legacy in.
Awesome, yeah. I think we've had some pretty cool games today, and some that kind of dragged on for a while, but that's what typically happens in Magic. Not every game is great. We have a top 8 bracket all set for you guys, so thanks for joining us today, and we're going to be watching for the rest of the day. We did see, as promised, Greg Dyer, if he had won the last round, would have ended up as the number 1 seed, and that did happen. So he'll have choice for the rest of the day, I believe. You can see Justin Brickman versus Lewis Kaplan in what will likely be a pretty close matchup. Connery Knox playing Maverick against Jim Dudek playing 4 Color Snow, and the match we'll be watching is Will Krueger, the number 3 seed, playing Temur Delver versus Micheal Ardoin playing Omnitell as number 6. So Jarvis, what matchup here? Pick a matchup here. What matchup sounds interesting to you, or competitive, or like landslide? Any thoughts you have on what you see here?
So I feel like the closest matchup of all of these will be the 2-7 matchup. Actually, Maverick versus 4 Color Snow. Both of the decks are really grindy. Both are built to go late. There's going to just be a lot of interaction on both sides. And I think Oko, a lot of people claim Oko has killed the Maverick deck, but I don't know. It seems like Connery Knox has figured out a way around it to sort of try to attack the meta with his version of Maverick.
All right, let me stop you there. Based on the chat, it looks like there's a problem with the audio. So if we need to go back to a break real quick to try and figure out what happened, or something, maybe director Norman Cohen and producer Max Kahn can get to work on that, because it sounds like we're fairly unlistenable at the moment. All right, so we're gonna go to. Okay, let's try going back to the caster screen at first, because they're suggesting that maybe that was actually working. So.
The NRG series is brought to you by Card Hoarder. Card Hoarder is Magic Online's premier source for online singles. Take advantage of their loan program so you can always play the hottest Tier 1 deck. Borrow from their huge inventory of Magic Online cards for a low weekly fee with no hassle delivery and returns. You can try out their loan program today with a free 5-ticket loan account. Get more information about Magic Online's top source for cards at cardhoarder.com. Looking for some inspiration for your next deck? Check out the top performing deck list from today's tournament at nerdragegaming.com. You can also take a look at our coverage archives, metagame breakdowns, deck lists from previous events, and more. NerdRageGaming.com is the exclusive home for everything NRG Series. The NRG Series is brought to you by KMC Sleeves. KMC is your go-to source for Magic sleeves, perfect fits, and storage boxes. They're rated the best overall sleeve brand by Tolarian Community College, and each purchase comes with a 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. Shop online at...
Okay, we're back, and I'm told that they were able to fix this, so let's go ahead and test that out. This is the awkward way of doing this, but chat, let us know if things are working now. Okay, it looks like things are good. Okay. All right. So we're back here. I'm joined by Jarvis Yu. We're covered kind of the 2-7 matchup a little bit. How about the matchup we're going to watch? Temur Delver versus Omnitell. Now, this is Omnitell, probably not dramatically different than Show and Tell, maybe with a few fewer threats and a few more protection spells. Maybe we want to go ahead and jump in and look at the deck list if we have those ready as to what we'll be watching, particularly the Omnitell side, as we have not seen that deck today. And we see, okay, what Michael's got going on here. Main deck, Veil of Summer, probably fairly significant in the matchup, I would think.
I agree with that. I think basically this deck rose to prominence for 2 reasons. The presence of a lot of basic lands. You can see 3 Snow-Covered Islands, Snow-Covered Forests, and even Prismatic Vista to fetch for them. Less emphasis on fast mana, but you do all of this so you can play Veil of Summer as basically an orange chant, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Veil of Summer, super cool in here. We see significantly fewer creatures than we would see in the Sneak and Show deck, but we are playing Omniscience package. We do have, and I think this is really cool, we have a Mystic Sanctuary to rebuy a Show and Tell if we need to. We have Icewind Coatls, a couple of them at least for defense, which will likely come into play in this matchup. This is a deck I don't have a ton of experience with, the green version of Show and Tell, and I'm probably not alone in that. This isn't. Maybe it's becoming more common now, but historically, this is not a deck that's had too much. It hasn't been around much. Is that right?
That's true, but since the COVID era started, Wizards started running Legacy Super Qs every week. This deck sort of rose to prominence during that era. For like 4 weeks in a row, it was pretty commonly played. I know a good friend, Stefan Schutz, Austrian professional at Legacy and Modern. He says he really liked this deck because it did prey upon Delver during the Loris era, especially. Then, a lot of things changed, and we're still seeing things change rapidly,
Right.
It sort of feels like every week to week now is more accelerated because of the amount of digital Magic being played.
Yeah.
So, I'm not surprised to see this deck back, and it's been through another few evolutions,
Right, and we have fewer win conditions. We're basically reliant on the Show and Tell, unlike having Sneak Attack to combine with it. So we see additional cantrips. We see a couple of copies of Impulse, whereas usually we saw only one, and that was just in the Wish versions. Mm-hmm. We are a Wish version. We still have Firemind's Foresight and a lot of Wish targets the sideboard. But then we also have, I love that we have Carpet of Flowers to get around tax.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
I was going to say, there's a reason Carpet of Flowers is now 35 tickets on Magic Online. A lot of combo green base spell decks are playing 2 to 4 carpets. Even the snow control decks, we saw that earlier, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Carpet of Flowers, phenomenal versus Spell Pierce, Daze, all the soft counters. Not so good versus hard counters, but, what can you ask for from a one-man enchantment from Urza Saga, right?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So Michael's going to be facing Will Krueger, who is playing Temur Delver, certainly much more stock than Blue-Green Show and Tell. We see again the Hooting Mandrills instead of Tarmogoyf. I know Will was on earlier today, but not everyone would have been with us at that point. We see heavy emphasis on kind of the card advantage. We have Arcanist and Oko. And then out of the sideboard, we have a lot of grindy cards that can take over a long game, which aren't at their best here.
No. Looking at this deck list, I would say this is a Daniel Gottschall deck, isn't it?
I believe it is, yeah.
And the only reason I say that is the 3 Relic of Progenitus screams Daniel to me. Mm-hmm. He and I have had fierce debates about this. I'm not a huge fan of the card in your Dreadhorde Arcanist Hooting Minerals deck, but, Daniel wins a lot. Maybe I'm wrong. But the key card in this matchup, we are looking at it right in the face. Single red, Pyroblast, You know how strong blasts are. You've played with them so much, and think it's the key card in the matchup post board.
Yeah, and this is where even against a traditional, I keep referencing this traditional Sneak and Show. At least they could draw the Sneak Attack half. That doesn't happen here. No. There is no Sneak Attack half. There's the Veil of Summer contingency plan, I suppose. But here we go. We're gonna get started with. Let's see who's in the play. It looks like Will's going first. And he's going to be looking for early pressure and a couple counters, and that's all he needs, but that is what he needs.
Meanwhile, why cantrip when you can just draw hands that look like this, right? This is a very JPA hand, right?
I mean, this is tremendous. This looks like this is a turn 2 effective win with force backup.
I know.
I don't feel like I could reasonably ask for much more than that.
No.
I didn't get a count of the soul lands in the deck, but without Lotus Petals, there can't be too many turn 2 kills in this deck.
No, there's actually only 2 soul lands in the deck, 2 copies of City of Trader, but we had one rolled up, and we don't have to fetch a non-basic land. So Wasteland can't keep us off. And look at this. We have the opportunity to go for it 2 turns in a row if we don't get Wastelanded, right?
Yeah, wow. This is great. And if we're not, I assume we are going to shuffle that away. Okay. So
yeah. The reason it shuffled away, I think, is if you're afraid of Wasteland and getting double forced, then it's kind of an insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And also, even another forcible would be a better draw than those cards.
That's true. This still seems like, I mean, I get it, but it does seem like that's still a pretty good set of cards to throw away, primarily just because of the backup show and tell. But we shall see. Okay, Drawn from Dreams is not a terrible backup land either, if we don't get Wastelanded. And so here we go. This will likely determine the outcome of Game 1 of this match.
I agree. Ooh, Daze is nice.
Yeah, Daze is a scary start.
Oh, and you see the life total go down, a card get pitched. You know that animation all too well, don't you?
Yes, I do. Okay, so Will came to play in this game and has the required cards to hold off the first volley. Now we'll see how the rest of this plays out, as there is still a follow-up from Micheal. Assuming he is able to keep his City of Traders for one turn, he'll be able to untap and cast the powerful Drawn from Dreams, which, if you're not familiar with that, is identical to Dig Through Time with a different mana cost. It's just a 4-mana sorcery.
It's identical to Ancestral Memories, but 3 mana less.
That's not a comparison I would have thought of, but good on you. You were right, and that was looking promising. But Wasteland, so Will has really everything that he wanted to fight off a pretty impressive start from the Omnitell deck.
Yeah, and remember when Taco Boy shuffled off that Ponder foreseeing this? It looks super, super smart right here now, right?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, drawing that second show and tell here would have been... because we wouldn't have drawn the land. We would have drawn that instead. So yeah, you're right. This is definitely looking much better. And now we're just hoping to draw more lands, and that's not a thing our deck has in excess supply of.
Yeah, so one small thing that... If you had kept off that first Ponder, I believe you draw Show and Tell, then Brainstorm. So you wouldn't have been dead in the water.
Yeah.
You would be in a worse position than this, I think. But this is not the end of the world. You can still... you have exactly this turn, because a Lightning Bolt was revealed to Delver of Secrets to flip.
Mm-hmm. Well, so the Lightning Bolt, it's been expended already. So no, we can...
Oh, I see.
We can kind of hope we have one more turn, but drawing...
Oh, the third fetch is sort of... that's...
Sort of dead.
Yes.
Yeah, so because the Delver's going to swing in for 3, the 3 fetch lands, that adds up to 6. So one of those lands is just dead on the board. This is... What are we even... We're hoping to draw Show and Tell. And we'll have nothing.
Or we could die to Chain Lightning.
Yeah, we could. Okay, so Will Krueger takes down Micheal and Ardoin in game 1. Not maybe the expected result, but again, in Magic, even your good matchups, maybe you're 70% favorite. That's a pretty solid favorite. You're still going to lose a good portion of the time, and that's what we saw there.
And I also think the open deck list thing sort of warped these sort of matchups, because a lot of the strength of a deck like Omnitell or Sneak and Show, especially in game 1, is you hope your opponent has a handful of Swords of Plowshares or Lightning Bolts, right?
Yeah.
But instead, Will knows, I'm playing against Omnitell. I shouldn't keep a hand that doesn't have Force or Fast Pressure or the combination of both. And you saw that exactly. It looked like his hand was nearly perfect. I don't think he actually had to mulligan, but if he had a bad hand, I'm sure he would have mulliganed as well.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. That dramatically affects the Swiss of events now when you know what you're playing against. And that is actually something that kind of almost, I don't know if it really influences deck building decisions, but it might at some point, as if you have your identical 7, are you going to enter your identical 75 in an open deck list event and close one? Maybe you change things up a little bit. I think having random 1-ups might be a little more effective in an open deck list event. Okay, so let's see what sideboard options Micheal has to try and swing this back in his favor. We talked a little bit about the Carpet of Flowers already. There's also a land in his sideboard that is fairly powerful. It can get hit by Wasteland, but Boseichu is going another way to just chew through the combo and get it on the board, regardless of how many counters Will has.
Yeah. So I think from Michael's side, I like the Boseiju and 2 Carpet Flowers. The rest of the sideboard is mostly a Wish sideboard, so you don't really want to side them in. You could make a case for a Veil of Summer on the point that you won't have time to wish for it.
Right. I mean, that's reasonable, and that's a card that's, even in kind of a fail case where we're stumbling, we can just cantrip off it in a lot of scenarios. So that definitely could come in. Okay, so it looks like we're ready for game 2 to get going here. No lengthy breaks for these players in the middle of the match, and we see, okay, we have not quite the power we had in game 1, but we have tools to get things going. I couldn't imagine ever mulling this hand, but it's at least something to be desired.
So my question to you is, do you just fire the Brainstorm on turn 1?
I think so. Well,
yeah,
okay.
I think so as well. But
yeah, my instinct is to say yes, because are you gonna fire it end of turn here? Because if you are, then maybe you'd rather have it get dazed. No, because the show and tell resolving on turn 2 currently doesn't do anything. That's a bad spot to be in.
Yeah, the problem is, I think if you don't do it, then a lot of your advantages are wasted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here it looks like he'll just have to play it slower. It's a good thing he drew in second island, I believe, so we can sort of shuffle it away with Ponder,
Right. No, this definitely, getting a land here was huge, because playing City Traders this turn would have been, I think, pretty bad for us. And here, we have all the cantrips available as far as what one we want to play there. We definitely had the option of using the impulse to kind of bottom the other 2 cards that we didn't want. The Ponder does the same thing, sort of. I'm not sure which one I would have gone with, but
look at that Omniscience. That's a pretty good draw.
Yeah, well, so now the show and tell is actually worth. Now it wins the game, as opposed to before where it didn't do much. Like putting Ice Fang Quaddle into play off a show and tell is pretty worthless.
Yep.
But putting in Omniscience with Wish in hand, on the other hand, that'll get the job done.
So Chad points out that there's no one-hit KO, but my counterpoint is, isn't attacking for 22 a one-hit KO?
Yeah, in my experience it is. I suppose that's true, but if we show and tell in Omniscience, I mean, I doubt Michael has lost too many games against Temur Delver when he resolved a show and tell, no matter what happened.
Right.
I guess the fail cases were probably when the opponent untaps and plays Oko and wipes out your Emrakul. But yeah, with Omniscience on the board and cantrips in hand, even if we don't have a Wish already, which we do in this case, we're likely set up. Will with 5 cards in hand, and this Brainstorm's going to have to turn up some kind of counter magic here.
Oh, I sort of like this. Surgical Extraction as Gitaxian Probe.
Okay, so Extraction is Gitaxia Probe. That's reasonable. Or we could just fire off the show and tell, and then Surgical the counter, and then be ready to go the next turn. That's another way we could go.
So one thing about that, with the split of Force of Will, Force of Negation, that's not even as reliable as it used to be.
No, you're right. That's definitely true. And we potentially, if we walked into a daze, then surgically in the daze isn't exciting at all. But let's.
So I sort of like this. I think what Michael's trying to do is we're gonna wish Incept for Veil of Summer, and then also just surgical at some point to get information. We could have actually set a stop, draw step, and surgical Preordain because Preordain was flipped to Delver.
That would have been cool. That would have been very cool. And that would have gotten us a free card. And I guess it works the same way here. If draw step, it doesn't cast pre-combat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it's just nice to know if you can cast the Wish safely or not.
Right. Yeah.
Or I think the information is worth so much, right?
Everything about this is great. We're going to get a card out of the hand.
Yep.
So it's not even card disadvantage. We're going to see what we're up against. Yeah, this is wonderful.
Yeah, I think technically speaking, it would have been. Oh, there's two. That's card advantage, Mr. Joe, and I know that's a concept you are very familiar with.
brainstorm in hand. How do you? Oh, don't you
yeah.
Yeah, there's okay.
There were a few awkward points there. So I think once the preordain is revealed to Delver, I would set a stop draw step and just surgical it, right?
Okay, so several things just happened there. Yeah, you're right. That were maybe could have gone a little bit better. Okay, we're impulsing, not cutting wishing, so that would suggest that the Veil of Summer came in.
Well, also, sorry, I did misspeak. If we wish for Veil, then we have nothing to do with our omniscience, right?
That's true. I mean, we'd still have the impulse left over.
Yeah.
And honestly, even if we're not winning this turn, having omniscience on the board, I feel like makes it very likely we'll win eventually.
That's fair.
And
that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
It.
Now it's game. He knows the opponent's hand.
Yeah.
We have it covered. Just that was great.
Yeah. This worked out very well. So this is going to be protected show and tell with omniscience and a wish, and a drawn from dreams to pitch to the force of will, and that will tie up the match at 1 game apiece. Now we kind of jumped through it because we're catching up with the action, but we're talking about the brainstorm. When Jarvis was saying the timing on the surgical could have been better, and he's correct. Also, the brainstorm, when you have 2 known cards in your hand being surgical, the brainstorm there is actually, I mean, it's something that has to happen. You're drawing a bunch of cards out of it, and you're actually getting a shuffle also because of the surgical. So it's really great. And so that was something that really probably should have happened there. Didn't see it, and not to say that Will would have won the game otherwise, but he made it harder on himself.
Yeah, I think once you see Preordain being surgical and there are 2 in your hand, you probably are supposed to cast the brainstorm in your hand. But, it's fine. There will be a game 3 for Will to try to even up this match, or win the match,
Right.
Because I do believe 22 points of damage are coming over the next turn. What are they saying? I think this is why most of the people cut Release the Ants. You don't need it in a lot of cases, except versus Ensnaring Bridge, right?
Yeah, and I would imagine a lot of times with the wish package, you're able to find an answer to something like that anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, so is that there's probably some other I don't know why I'm forgetting the name of it. Humility would wipe that out also. But that's not a card that you see hardly ever either.
Yep.
Okay, so looks like we're 3. Let's take a couple seconds and just blink over to Will's sideboard real quick, since we didn't really address that too much between the previous games, and see what he's gaining. We did talk about it beforehand. It's really just the blasts. Yeah, maybe Sylvan Library, but
maybe that's a hard stretch, I think.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to the match. So we've into game 3, and what has proved to be fairly interesting so far. So this time Micheal does not have show and tell in an open hand.
I know.
He took a mulligan though.
I was kind of surprised by that, but that's the power of London, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, okay, he has found shoulders. So I didn't get. It looked to me like the opening hand had Basic Island, Fetch Land, Brainstorm. There was 2 Emeralds, I think, which are obviously not worth much, but the Brainstorm cleaned that up. I feel like I would have kept that myself. We are going second, so maybe he wants a faster hand, and also he probably knows the deck better than I do. But I would classify that as a very aggressive mulligan.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I do think you want your lands in the matchup, and then you also want a force, and then a show and tell, and something to put in. So by that point, you run out of cards. So my instinct is also to keep that hand, but then again, I'm not playing the deck. Micheal is, and maybe he knows something we don't, right?
Right. So here we're probably keeping on this ponder. And we want all the cards. But since we're going to play the Sylvan Library next turn, presumably, we have to shuffle away one of them. And it looks like the island is going to be the one that goes.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. By shuffling away the island, you also open yourself up to Wasteland on your Trop, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you do. That does leave you vulnerable. I mean, there at some point, in some respects, we're on a 5-card hand. There's only so much we can hope for. But yeah, that holding that island. Also, we do need This is kind of something that has come up previously where we're shuffling away a card that we need anyway. We need a third land, regardless of, it doesn't have to be that specific land, but we don't necessarily need the Omniscience is desirable, but there are alternatives. Well, okay. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
So I think something we could do is just play our land, say go, and see what happens, and not even play the library. Because playing the library into Daze to get wastelanded isn't even that desirable, right?
Right. I mean, that is basically game losing if that were to happen. And you are right. That is what's going to happen. Micheal is just going to pass.
I think, again, open deck list, and you know your opponent's going to leave in all of their blasts or dazes or whatever. So if you wait another turn to play the Sylvan, it basically forces a force.
Right.
Because we know there are no spell pierces, so that's sort of desirable as well, right?
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. And if Will had a creature on the board already, maybe that influences the decision the other way. But without one, you're right. Yeah, just holding, waiting, drawing the other island, and then playing Sylvan with. Yeah, I like this a lot, actually.
Yeah, a lot of my friends who play these sort of decks tell me versus Delver, they just try to match the speed at which Delver is playing instead of like having a set plan, which I think is really smart.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of looking at it. So we'll see what comes down here. Will really is going to need a threat, though.
He looks like an Arcanist here.
Yeah. That or Hooting Mandrills would both fit for the double fetch.
Yep.
But yeah, Will's going to need something, and which means he's going to be tapping out. Okay, some Mandrills. So that's bigger, but kind of less dangerous. If we brainstorm into a force here, there's a good, and a land, I guess. No, we know there's a land. If we brainstorm into a force, there's a good chance we could just win, maybe?
Yep.
But
I agree.
If we miss, then what are we giving up? Not that much. I think I like it. I think I like brainstorming here. You agree?
Yeah, I agree. So the problem with casting Impulse is you have to give up your land.
Right.
Which you want anyways. And frankly, I think Impulses or Sylvan Library is probably, depending on what you draw off your brainstorm, Sylvan Library might just be unnecessary, right?
Yeah, and the Impulse is better than, like, I'm okay with not casting the Impulse because the Impulse is actually more reasonable to cast off the Omniscience.
Yep.
If things work out well.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, so here's an interesting thing. I think you have to put back Sylvan Library Brainstorm and redraw the Brainstorm to pitch to Force of Will.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. So normally you want to shuffle after you brainstorm, but when you know what you're looking for is your top card anyways, you should just keep it, right?
Yeah, definitely. So if we agree that is a reasonable way to go, what other options are there? We could put back Sylvan and let's see, we could put back Sylvan and something else and then fetch and brainstorm now. We could potentially the Impulse. If we shuffled away the Impulse and then brainstorm, we could try and find, because the Impulse is okay off Omniscience, but we'd rather have a Wish or a creature. So we could do that. We didn't. We can't. Whoa.
All right. So what this indicates to me is he really wants to play around Daze.
Right.
So I would expect to see draw the island. If he doesn't do that, I'm not quite sure what his plan is, frankly.
We had another. We put back. Yeah, we put Brainstorm Island is what we did.
Yeah.
So if we are going to play the Sylvan, I wonder if I would have. I feel like I kind of would have rather had the Brainstorm than the Impulse, but okay. So we throw on the Sylvan here. This is likely to. It's very unlikely Will would ever expend a Force of Will on the Sylvan Library here, I would think.
Right. Yeah, so I think the major issue with this is Wasteland, obviously. But all the times you get Wastelanded, maybe you just find another land. But the problem is you're still not thrilled about Daze, because every time you get Wastelanded, that's just another turn that Daze is alive, right?
Yeah, and now we're also in the spot where there's red mana conceivably untapped, so we have also. But maybe, I mean, maybe the idea is we'll use Sylvan Library, play up a longer game, and try and dig up a Veil of Summer and just go, okay, no Wasteland, so that works out well.
Yeah, I don't know. This screams Pyroblast to me, though.
Yeah.
Because also look at the preordain order. It was just top.
Wow.
Oh, but this is huge.
That's fantastic.
Did you know Carpet Flowers is Dark Ritual, except you can choose when to Dark Ritual for it?
Yeah, I have had this experience. Carpet Flowers is such a good card, and so I assume we'll pay 4 here, dump the imp. No, we just kept everything. Okay.
Yeah, no. So this makes sense. So you can play the Carpet first main, see if it resolves, go to second main, make 3 green, and lead with Veil, right?
Yeah.
And
I guess, and keeping the extra card also makes your impulses more likely to lead to a win.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So we're basically all in on winning this turn, but boy, we have a reasonable shot at it. Also, we're starting with Carpet Veil, so Pyroblast actually does nothing.
Right.
And that's really nice.
And do you like leading with the Veil? I do personally, but I'm curious what you think.
Oh, as opposed to, let's see. I like leading with Veil means we get around Pyroblast. I think I lead with Veil because I don't want to get like double Pyroblast still works if we lead with. We still have to counter it if we Veil.
Right.
So I think just firing it off sounds good to me.
So the reason not to do that is to hope to bait your opponent so you can draw a card off the Veil off like a Force of Will.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see what happens, right?
I think we get the card anyway though, because if we go Veil and our opponent forces, we're forcing back, so they've still played a blue card first. Okay, there's the Pyroblast. There is the Veil. Here is second Pyroblast, so now we have to force, and there's 3 cards left, and we're dead to not dead necessarily, but in trouble to a force.
Yeah, I mean, we did what we could. This was our 5-card hand, and that Sylvan drew the best possible cards, I feel like, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I actually am wrong. I was thinking we kind of kept the extra card in Sylvan Library as a luxury. We actually needed it because of the Force of Will pitch. Okay, so this is it. This is I take it back. This isn't necessarily it, because if this resolves, Micheal still could lose.
Yeah, and also there's Will's last 3 cards are not live. Oh, wow. That is huge.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a force. Oh, that's rough. So if we had led on, would things have been any different if we led on Veil? It would have been force. Yeah, no, it wouldn't. It would have. We'll had it covered. Yeah.
Right. It works out exactly the same, except you get slightly more information. We're still not dead because I feel like Will is probably the type to realize that Bolt is generally not great. But we'll see what happens. I think we have one more turn.
How close are we to hardcasting Omniscience here with Carpet of Flowers?
Well, we have 6 mana total,
so we have
right?
6 mana, not quite there. But we do have plenty of mana. Okay, we have Sylvan. Okay, wow. No, the trample damage would kill us, so Quaddle's not going to do it.
And you can't keep 2 cards, but you can Drawn from Dreams off of Carpet mana, and there's a land, so that might work.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way around that. Michael's taking some time to think this through, but I think that's a forced decision. I don't think he has an option.
Yep.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you're right. So we would need to Drawn from Dreams for a land and a Show and Tell, and then we'd
have that to hit off the impulse.
Right. Yeah,
which is better than nothing, right?
Right. This is pretty good for a mold of 5.
I agree. Yeah. But I feel like it really came down to that turn where we chose to play around Daze and then got double power blasted, right?
Yeah. That was certainly significant in the outcome of the game. Okay, so here we go. Drawn from Dreams. We know there's a land. 7 cards is a lot to look at. Not enough so that we're favored here, but keep the drama going as long as we can. As there's let's see, we're looking at.
So you're effectively looking at 7 cards, but one of them's a land.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's just
get that far.
Holy moly!
Wow.
William's hand was just absurd, right?
Yeah, Will came to play. Will came to win. We're impulsing here, but this is. Oh, it was
I
there.
was there, but wait,
Wow.
but we were cold to that force of will anyways, right?
No, I know. Yeah, we were dead as soon as the force happened, and oh my gosh, so Will used all of his cards and was enough.
That's a classic rug delver victory right there, right?
Yeah, just barely. And so Micheal loses there, and Will Krueger advances to top four. We'll find out if we have a backup match for you guys in a moment. But boy, I got it. There was a couple decisions there that really, I got to come back to that opening hand game 3. That's a hand that, I mean, I understand, but I would have kept. I think I would have. Yeah.
I would have as well, but again, we're here. He's there. He's had a good run, and even for a 5-card hand, he made a really good fight of it.
Yes.
You saw that right there.
Yeah. I mean, Will needed everything he had there to finish that one up. All right, we do have another match. So let's go into another one of our quarterfinal matches. Jim Dudek with 4-color snow against Connery Knox playing Maverick, and Jim is up a game. But it's definitely okay. Didn't even manage to finish saying behind on the board in game 2 before the board evened out.
So this was the match I was referring to. That I think generally Maverick has had a tough time with snow. Not by a lot. It's probably like a 45-55 thing, But this game looks significantly harder than 45-55 to me. How about you?
Yeah, no, it looks pretty bad. I mean, that Dead of Winter is sweepers are always going to be good against a deck like Maverick, whose whole game plan is putting creatures with abilities and powerful interactions on the board. And okay, that's a pretty strong follow-up. Questing Beast, which gets knocked out in this case, would have been preferable as Thrun, which we saw earlier today. And
I do not believe you could cast his back to basics fast enough right there.
All right, so Connery Knox, who was our number 2 overall seed, this might be the end of the run here. We do have 3 permanent mana sources, or 2 permanent mana sources and 1 temporary Lotus Petalish land.
Yeah.
To run out the game. Wow, that just shows you the power of the Oko, is that the back to basics that is completely crippling is left on the board and Oko is killed. I respect the choice, but the backup Oko is unpleasant.
The backup Oko, I think, just seals the deal, right?
Yeah. I mean, anything here would be sufficient probably. Oko certainly going to work. Do you elk the bird here to cut off mana completely?
I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
But it's definitely tempting to do so. A turn cycle ago, I was wondering if it was actually correct to plow the bird and just leave them on Scrubland Forest. But I think this ended up slightly better for Jim.
Okay.
Well, that's a 3/3.
Yeah, that's a Knight of Elk, and that's.
Maybe it's not.
That. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. So we'll Elk one and abrupt to get the other one probably, one way or the other. Oh, we're gonna trade. Oh,
it's only a 3/3. Oh, that's so
cute.
funny. Well, why elk it when you can just steal it?
No,
right?
that probably.
No. Jim's like, you wanted to have nice things. I'm going to make it so you can't have any nice things whatsoever.
This is nice because this is the kind of thing where a lot of players, myself included, a lot of time would have just kind of defaulted to the fact that that's not going to be an option, and yet there it is, and Jim Dudek finishes out that match. That was a stylish end to that. That was cool. Yeah,
it's not often Knight of the Reliquary is only a 3/3, right? That's the real reason.
Yeah, and having the 2 wastelands locked down, I guess, was by back to basics actually what did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if we're going to have a third match available since. Okay, so the quarterfinal round is over with. So I don't know if we have the advanced bracket ready to go or if we're stepping away. So let's